So, have you ever argued or wondered who would win in a fight between a predator and a ninja, or a predator and a Viking? Well, you don't have to argue with your friends or online about that anymore, because this movie sums up all of those arguments. So, hi guys, welcome to another video. Welcome to my review of Predator Killer of Killers. This is the second film directed by Dan Trachtenberg in the Predator franchise after Prey, as he went on to direct a third installment recently in Predator Badlands. And this movie is essentially a animated anthology. It essentially is, I guess, technically split up into four sections, but there's like three main sections, and they're all basically focused on seeing these encounters and these battles between these predators at different points in time amongst different cultures. We open up over 1,000 years ago, where we see this Viking encountering and battling with one of these predators. We then move on to the 1600s Japan, and follow this story of this samurai ninja who battles with a predator, and then we move on into this World War II segment with this pilot, and there was. It was interesting because anybody who's been following this channel knows that I've been recently revisiting all of the Predator and Alien movies and reviewing them all. And when I revisited Predators, which was the third installment in this film, in this franchise, should I say, one of my favourite bits in that movie was that there was a scene in it where this guy picks up this samurai sword and he does battle with this predator, and I thought that was like really cool. But I guess it does sort of like plant this seed as to, you know, what you could potentially do with seeing these predators do battle with all of these other, different warriors throughout history, and in these sort of different periods, historical periods of battle and stuff like that. And and that's essentially what we get here. The animation, I think that it is absolutely sublime. I think one of the things that's been really interesting is that animation in film is something that I've always admired. I've always kind of been a fan of it in that sense, but it's never been a genre film, if I can call it that has really been sort of like, right up there. But I do feel like that just in more recent times, especially when we've had, movies coming through like the Spider-Verse and stuff, we've seen these really interesting takes on animation, and I think that this movie is just like another continuation of that. Here we have this level of animation that almost looks like this lore of these predators and these different historical time periods have been kind of painted on this canvas, and this painting has just kind of been brought to life in this three-dimensional format, and I think that the animation is just beautiful here. It was met with some criticism from some critics, but it wasn't a problem for me. I think that this makes the movie just look absolutely beautiful. I think that if anything, and you could make a solid case that this is the most beautiful looking of all the Predator films there. I think that it, like I said, it gets on. It essentially encapsulates this really intriguing concept of seeing all these, this sort of fan servicey, nerdy kind of fandom where you see these predators having these encounters with all these different warriors throughout history, and it also kind of is quite coherent, I think, in a sense where you essentially get that continuation where with Dan Trachtenberg's first contribution to this franchise with Prey, you see obviously this Predator battle at a point in history that was much more primitive and much more primal, and like I said, this film just kind of continues that thread. I think that there's some really gnarly, bloody action here. So I think that on that face, it really delivers. And I think that because you have all of these different segments, it's condensed into this like 90-minute runtime film, it means that the film goes by at a really brisk breakneck pace. It barely pauses for breath. You're just going from conflict to conflict to conflict, and it doesn't really let up. So I think that this is just a very brisk and quick way to pass an hour and a half in that sense. So yeah, all of that I really, really enjoyed. If I'm going to get a little bit nitpicky, the only real criticisms I have of this film lie within kind of the final, the sort of the last kind of 20 minutes or so in this film. There it is where there are just a little moments in the World War II segment that maybe just feels a bit of a stretch to me, feels like a bit of a stretch on plausibility. It feels a little bit cartoony, and I know that sounds like an odd, really stupid thing to say, seeing as this movie is animation, but I mean, in terms of the tone that this movie is kind of going for, and the level it's sort of going at, it just feels maybe a little bit out of place, and a little bit more of a kind of departure from the rest of the stuff that we get in this movie. And then after this, we have, after this World War II segment, we have this little other fourth segment, which essentially provides this kind of like through line. It's essentially bringing all of these three stories together, and I didn't hate it, but I didn't really feel like it was really necessary neither. I didn't really I wasn't completely sold on it, I've got to be honest with you. I think that it does potentially provide this really quite good platform where it could be this sort of jumping off point where you could do all these other expansions into the lore, which I think is ultimately what Dan Trachtenberg obviously is kind of doing. That's certainly what we've seen from him so far. So I think it serves a purpose in that sense, but I can't help kind of like maybe wonder with what they kind of do in this final act, and how that maybe sort of what that sort of entails for the previous installments that we've seen in this franchise and all of that. I can't help but wonder about stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine, but But yeah, it is just one of those things where I thought, maybe I could have done without that. I don't think it necessarily needed that. I felt it was a bit excess. I think you could have just run with this kind of just did this general idea of, you know, this intrigue and fandom of kind of seeing these predators feud with all of these different warriors throughout history. I think getting enough in itself would have been enough to kind of maybe justify what this film is essentially doing. But yeah, on the whole, guys, really impressed with this movie. Yeah, just really made me continued to make me kind of positive about this franchise, especially in Dan Trachtenberg's hands. I think he's really free for free at this point. I think he's bringing some really interesting new stuff to the franchise, and yeah, just makes me really intrigued to see what happens next. But yeah, like I said, absolutely beautiful looking movie, I gotta say. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up. So thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like I said, it's been reviewing all of the Predator films, been reviewing all of the Alien films as well, and then I'll be basically bringing those two franchises together for one last face-off as I review all of them from the worst to the best, and you'll be able to find a link to that playlist down in the description section. So yeah, thank you again for taking the time to watch this video, guys. Thank you for all who have subscribed. I appreciate you all, and yeah, until next time, I will see you guys on the next video. You guys take care.